afternoon. My name is Salima, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Infrastructure Management Global Community Webcast. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question-and-answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. I will now turn today's conference call over to Melissa Potvin, your CA Community Manager. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Salima. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the infrastructure management community. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to participate. So I am Melissa Potvin. I'm your CA Community Manager, and I'm happy to let you know that we have a great agenda lined up for you today. We have Steve Guthrie from Product Marketing, who will deliver to you an update on CA World. Then we have Kathy Hickey, our Vice President of Product Management, who will deliver an update on our infrastructure management products. Please, you may use the Q&A panel in the WebEx to ask questions, or you can wait until the end of the presentation to ask your question live. Of course, this webcast will be recorded, and we will make it available in the community within the next 24 hours. That being said, this is the agenda, and I pass to you, Steve.
Hey, Steve, you on mute?
Oh, I am on mute. My apologies. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Melissa, you're going to pass me the ball?
Yep.
Great, awesome, thank you. So it's my privilege to just spend a few minutes before Kathy comes on with the important content to give you a brief review of CA World. First of all, for all of those on the call that were there, thank you very much for joining us. If you were there, I hope you agree with me that it was a stunning event. Lots of change this year, change that from all I can tell was positively received by practically everybody I spoke to. Now, there's some areas that we can work on, and at the end of my brief remarks, I'll share with you a feedback mechanism that I welcome you to participate in. So the first thing I wanted to share with you was a view of how important the Ops Center. The Ops Center was where IM was represented. Indeed, IM is a significant part of what we think of as the Ops Center. What I wanted to show you was some numbers that were given to me by the company that if you compare them with the other areas within CA, within the IntelliCenter, where our project and portfolio management and our service management solutions are, or our Secure Center, where our security products are, or our mainframe area, or the new DevOps and DevCenter areas, what these numbers, if you stack these numbers up against those numbers, the Ops Center was number 1 or number 2 in a few categories, but was almost consistently number 1 in the number of attendees that we had in our sessions. That's that box in the upper left. You can see attendee count, nearly 4,000. That number was second only to IntelliCenter, and it was very close. So we were very popular. We were a happening place. If you look at the number of folks that attended our demos, the upper right box, total unique scans, 918. That means of the 5,000 people at CA World, roughly 3,500 of which are customers like you, that means that nearly 25% of our customer attendees came by and spent time at one of our demos or multiple demos. So we're very proud of that. Our demo area was busy right up until Wednesday at noon. I think we actually had to push a couple customers out of our area at noon because the staff was exhausted and they wanted to get on with their travel or go to lunch, if you will. And then in the lower left, you'll see Meet the Experts. This was a new effort that we tried this year. I think it worked to some extent. It was a replacement, for those of you familiar with the technical campground. This was sort of a new version of technical campground. We call it Meet the Experts. We put it on the show floor near the demos. Again, I think we've got some room for improvement here, but as you can see here, another 90 unique scans within the Meet the Experts. So I'm very proud of the team that we had on site. You can see here they were very busy, whether it was a session, a demo, or Meet the Experts. I also wanted to share with you the top 10 sessions. I put an asterisk after 10 because I wanted to add the 11th. I knew Karen DeWalker would be on the call this morning, and I want to recognize number 11, if you will. But as you can see here, if you look down through the types of sessions, as no surprise, the vision and roadmap sessions for all of our products were among the top. The first one, our opening session with John Smith, talking about business transactions and services in the application economy. You can see that was our number 1 session, followed closely by our Forrester Research Analyst session on Tuesday with over 200 folks. And then you can see, if you kind of look through, what you'll notice is that IM, now Ops Center is a combination of both IM and APM, and I know I'm talking to the IM user community, but you'll see that with just few exceptions, the top 11 sessions were mostly IM related. I wanted to add the 11th one. Interestingly enough, I got to 10 and then I said, wait a minute, there's one more vision and roadmap session, and that's the Spectrum session. And I know Kieran was very proud of this. This was a session that was held at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, probably the worst time slot of the week, given the fact that it's the last session, given the fact that we know some people leave early on Wednesday and don't even come. But here we have a vision roadmap for Spectrum with 79 attendees Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So I was very proud of that audience, if you will. I do want to just stop and recognize the fact that this year we had amazing reception from our customers when we invited them to speak. If you count the number of logos, I think I've done it once or twice, there's something like 36 logos represented here. Now this is, again, this is the Ops Center, so this is a combination of both IM and APM, but we were very blessed with customers who came to speak with very few exceptions. The exceptions typically being the Vision and Roadmap session, some of the hands-on labs, and our pre-con ads. So if you take those 3 types of sessions away from the mix, every other session had a customer speaker in it. So it was all about the opportunity for our attendees to hear from their peers on how they are using technology that we happen to provide. So I was very happy with that. I want to close with this what next. Your feedback is welcome. There are many forums that you have to share your experience, but if you'd like to share it with me, I would love to hear it. I've already asked the staff that worked in the Ops Center, what worked. We want to make sure we do more of what worked. Maybe perhaps more important is what didn't work, and we're getting some great feedback there. And then third is, if you could do it differently yourself, what would you do? And I think this is almost more important, right? This is an opportunity to say, hey, what about doing something different? So there's my email address. I'm happy to receive any input you have. If you use the subject line CAW14, what next, then I'll make sure I read it, and I'll also incorporate it in. The good news is we're all home now, sleeping in our beds, reuniting with our families. Kind of the bad news is that the machine is going to turn on right away. My hunch is that by January 1st, we'll start to build a team for CA World 15. I don't know the dates right off the top of my head, but I think it's a week later next November. So we'll be back at Mandalay Bay. We want you to come. We want you to participate. We want you to take advantage of all that we offer. And if you're interested in speaking, maybe put it in your feedback. What would you do differently? You'd be a speaker. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy, and thank everybody for taking a few minutes with me this morning.
Great.
Kathy?
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I appreciate it. So thanks again to everyone for joining. I really, as Steve described, we're all coming back from our week at CA World. Very, very exciting having the opportunity to speak with so many different customers. But recognizing that not everyone was able to join us, what I've done is I've taken some content from the Vision and Roadmap sessions, pulled them together here for you to make sure that we're sharing that with the wider community. I do want to thank the community board and the community members that were able to join us for our impromptu session, prompted by some of the posts on the community to try to clear up some of the confusion regarding our vision and our strategy. So I'll share that at a high level with you here, and then talk a bit, product by product. So what's new? What's been in the most recent releases? What's planned for the upcoming releases? To be able to share that information with you and make sure you have a good understanding of what we're doing with those products that you have deployed in your environments. So we'll talk first at a high level about enterprise management, and then dive into infrastructure management, which happens to be a segment of the enterprise management space here at CA and in the market as well. And then what we'll do, we'll get into the vision for infrastructure management and then specific product updates, product by product. Some of this information is forward-looking, so we have our obligatory legal slide here. I will share with you as much as I can regarding releases, release numbers, timing, and so forth, but just keep in mind some of this is forward-looking information, which is subject to change. So from an enterprise management standpoint, the way that we look at the market and the challenges within the market, we see that business as usual when you're approaching infrastructure management and application performance management together to provide enterprise management across the technology silos. Business as usual won't get you there. Oftentimes, organizations are approaching this from a siloed perspective with siloed tools across the components of applications, across the apps, the middleware, the data repositories, and across the components within the infrastructure, systems, storage, networks, databases, and so forth. And what ends up happening is we deploy these niche tools that have great information, but it is very much siloed. Now, you're responsible as an IT organization for ensuring the delivery of mission-critical business services to your end users. And those business services are typically combinations of transactions that are traversing across those technology silos. When issues occur that impact the end users of those mission-critical business services, be it external customers or internal customers, you really need to be able to have the full view across the technology silos. What ends up happening with this approach, where we're doing siloed types of data, there's a lot of finger pointing, there's just too many tools, it's too costly, too painful to really figure out where the true root cause of the issue is. So what's required in order to really truly ensure the delivery of those mission-critical business services? These are the things that we're focusing on because we believe this is what's required in order to deliver a tool set that meets those specific needs. First and foremost, it's convergence. You'll see that what we're doing is we're looking to kind of break down the silos across those technology silos and converge those tools to reduce that total cost of ownership, increase that visibility across the technology silos, and truly provide you with the ability to understand how well you are delivering those services to your end users. We're also very focused in on simple. It has to be simple and as easy to deploy, to configure, to gain value from, to instrument these solutions and gain the value from these solutions. We know that there is a lot of value placed on simple and easy to use. We also recognize that at the heart of our tools and a lot of other tools in the marketplace, whether it be a competitor or even freeware, there's a lot of tools out there that collect data. But really at the end of the day, it's about what do you do with that data? And for us, we are laser focused in on recognizing we have at our fingertips a wealth of data that has been collected across the technology silos. And really, the true value comes when you layer on analytics and convert that data into actionable information. and then expose the results of those analytics that have been applied across that data, expose that to users based upon their particular role and what they're responsible for and what they're looking to achieve in the overall enterprise management, ensuring the delivery of those services. We refer to this as business service reliability. So really, bringing it all together, our focus is to break down those technology silos, collect that data, layer on those analytics, and expose the results of those analytics to those end users so that you've got a full understanding not only of how well, if your role happens to be monitoring the network, how well the network is performing in support of those business services, but also enabling you to relate those network components to the business services that are being delivered so that you've got a good understanding of the impact perhaps those components within the network that you're monitoring have on delivering mission-critical business services to the end users. So that's at a very high level, starting from an enterprise management perspective, looking at that business service reliability that traverses across the APM and infrastructure management areas. Now we're going to dive into infrastructure management, very specifically focused in on the infrastructure that you're responsible for managing to ensure those business services are delivered to your end users. So our vision actually is the same as it's been for the last several years, which is to be the most powerful, comprehensive, and easiest unified infrastructure management solution in the marketplace today. And our mission in delivering on that vision, really, how will we know that we've done this? It's because we want to be able to provide IT teams across all sized organizations. Basically, it's fault and performance across the technology silos. And really, this is the most powerful, comprehensive, and unified infrastructure management tools in the marketplace. And we don't want to stop just there, as I described earlier. We want to be able to collect data across those technology silos, but really layering on those analytics and exposing the results of those analytics to users based upon their particular role within the organization. So in order to really understand, where we're going from the evolution of unified infrastructure management, I think it does warrant taking a step back and looking at historically how infrastructure management has been approached in IT across history. So if we take a step back and go pre-2010, I'd argue even the early 2000s, IT organizations were very, very siloed, and quite frankly, IT organizations actually we were at a point in the market when IT organizations actually had quite a bit of budget. We were at the bubble, the high-tech bubble, and there was quite a bit of emphasis put on IT. IT organizations, as I said, were very siloed, so the network group had the money and the resources, wanted to deploy best-of-breed network monitoring. Systems monitoring group, independent group, same thing, best-of-breed systems management. Database management, same thing. All purchasing their own best-of-breed solution, which was necessary and required, but did start that siloed approach to infrastructure management. What we see as we progress through time, what we see is that IT organizations realized, these individual groups realized, that it was actually kind of valuable to having a high-level understanding of performance in the other technology silos. So as a network, as a person responsible for network performance, it was helpful when troubleshooting an issue with a particular application, a user reports an issue with a particular application. It was helpful for that network engineer to have a basic understanding of what was the overall performance of the servers that were supporting that particular application, to be able to rule out whether or not it happens to be an issue with perhaps memory consumption or CPU utilization on the servers. So we see there that we see a lot of integration started taking place, point-to-point integrations, enabling the sharing of data across those technology silos. We still had the same number of tools, still had those best-of-breed point solutions, but what we saw was there was data sharing and insight across the technology silos being shared. We then marched towards the next step, which was IT organizations, silos are breaking down, and to be quite honest with you, budget wasn't nearly as plentiful as it had been in the past. IT organizations oftentimes experienced flat growth from no growth from a budget standpoint, and perhaps even a reduction in budget, which really did force IT organizations to take a look at total cost of ownership of their tool sets. And that's where we're seeing the convergence take place across these tools. There is value in having this information in a single repository, sharing that across the technology silos, and there is value in reducing that total cost of ownership. And really that's where you'll see what we're trying to do is to provide that kind of single source of truth across the technology silos, where we're able to see that data from an infrastructure standpoint across those domains, and being able to leverage that data across the domains to really truly understand how well we're delivering services to our end users. And how are we delivering this? Well, we're delivering this in such a way that we're able to start small with modular, fast time to value, point solutions or freemium offerings, and then being able to scale up and scale out. Scale up to meet the specific needs and the growing needs of infrastructures, the number of components in the infrastructures, and being able to scale out across the technology domains based upon the specific need of your organization. Taking that data, layering on those analytics, as I had described earlier, and exposing the results of those analytics through a unified user interface, enabling users based upon their specific role to consume that data and the results of those analytics based on their specific needs. And our guiding principle on this is that we're going to make it as easy as possible for users to be able to take our solution, be able to deploy, instrument and configure the solution, and gain value out of that solution. There's a tremendous amount of focusing on easy, and you'll see that as I go through product by product, what we're focused on for each of those areas. You'll see there is a tremendous amount of focusing on easy. So now let's dive in from a what's new perspective. So CA Performance Management and CA Mediation Manager, which really many of you may know is historically called Polaris. You may also have known it being known as IM2X. We are referring to the solution today. It's called CA Performance Management, used in conjunction with CA Mediation Manager, which is our component that enables non-SNMP data collection. Our focus for this particular solution that was built from the ground up with a laser focus in on the ability to meet the needs of the mega scale and carrier grade communication service provider market, focused in on network performance management. The most recent releases are 2.3.3 and 2.3.4, very focused in on enhancing the user experience as well as increasing scale, performance, and resiliency across this solution. So we have, from an enhanced user experience perspective, we've got some new scorecard aggregation views. There's a screenshot here on this, as well as the ability to perform on-demand reporting. So not only do we out of the box have a multitude of technology-specific dashboards, we also have the ability to enable organizations to run on-demand reporting to meet the specific needs of those organizations. From an increased scale, performance, and resiliency standpoint, we're also very focused in on, again, meeting the needs of the ever-growing needs of these organizations. So we've introduced new technology, new functionality, enabling scale so focused in on-demand data collector load balancing. So being able to have multiple collectors deployed across the infrastructure, and being able to do on-demand load balancing and perhaps one collector may be polling in one area, you want to move those devices over to another poller. You want to be able to load balance the load of polling across those. So it's very easy, on-demand, push-button load balance the collection across devices across the data collectors. We also increased our database performance as well as enhanced the data collector to data aggregator communications, providing additional resiliency. From a futures standpoint, our 2.4 release is actually getting ready to go GA, so you'll see an announcement about that very soon. And beyond, what we're focused on is things such as support for SDN environments. In these large mega-scale and carrier-grade network environments, we're seeing a significant uptick in the interest and actually even testing and in some cases deployment of SDN, software-defined networking technologies. And we recognize that organizations want to be able to manage their traditional physical network environments side by side with these software-defined networking environments. We will continue to focus in on updating our visualization. In the 2.4 release, you'll notice a new look and feel. It's actually been very well received at CA World, so lots of focus in on that user experience. We'll be continuing to increase scale, performance, and resiliency. As well as in these large environments, we recognize that there is a need to federate out certain functions and features and capabilities within the solution to non-administrative users. So, for example, the ability to enable users to be able to create their own think of them as proactive performance alerting, setting thresholds, and defining when they want to receive alerts. So we've enhanced our role controls to federate that out to non-administrative users. And then as well, another key area of focus for us, again, very well received at CA World, and I encourage you to take a look at on the community. We've done some demos and some webcasts on our open API, our new approach to enabling organizations to be able to leverage the API to pull data out and visualize the data specific to meet specific needs. So think of it as ways in which you can easily query the data using almost to some extent natural language like questioning to be able to pull that data out. For those of you who are members of our development community, we will be doing an end of sprint demo for the 2.4 release on Friday. So anyone who would like to participate in that, I encourage you to be on the lookout for those announcements within the infrastructure management development community. And then as well, if you are interested in participating in our early access program, early access GA, just send me a note, kathy.hickey@ca.com, and we'll get you involved in that early access program as well. From a Spectrum perspective, Spectrum is considered to be a very strategic component in our portfolio. Lots of customers using Spectrum, and we continue to invest in this very strategic product within our portfolio. Spectrum 9.4, and actually to be quite honest with you, Spectrum 9.4.1 was just recently released last week at the CA World timeframe. Spectrum 9.4 was focused in on support, updating, basically addressing what we're hearing from that very large, passionate customer base, which is they need support for new and updated device certifications and new technologies. So the Spectrum 9.4 release included over 120 new and updated device certifications, as well as enhanced technology support for things such as virtual switching, as well as for LACP link aggregation protocol support. We also introduced a new mobile interface. You see some quick screenshots here, which are it's a specific mobile interface targeted at those operations users, targeted at those most common things that they're trying to do within the console, looking at alarms, being able to filter on alarms, being able to assign alarms. And then as well, what you'll see, because we are anticipating that Spectrum's going to be around for quite some time as we build out our unified infrastructure management solution across fault and performance across the technology silos, we are anticipating Spectrum customers to be leveraging Spectrum in conjunction with our Unified Infrastructure Management, also known as NIMSOFT, previously known as NIMSOFT. So we introduced in Spectrum 9.4 integration for Spectrum to integrate with UIM, Unified Infrastructure Management, formerly known as NIMSOFT, to support physical servers, being able to have Spectrum connect to those probes on the Unified Infrastructure Management side to be able to pull in information about physical servers, being able to model those physical servers within the topology, perform event correlation and root cause analysis. 9.4.1 as well, as I said, was released last week. Also had some new and updated device certifications in there, as well as expanded that integration I just described with Unified Infrastructure Management to include support for virtual servers specific to VMware environments. And then finally, looking at from a future standpoint beyond 9.4.1, we are actually have already gone to an alpha phase. We are planning our 10.0 release for release roughly halfway through next calendar year, and we're planning releasing support for 64-bit Spectrum, which will significantly decrease that total cost of ownership. It increases the scale of the Spectra servers, a single Spectra server. We're looking at roughly a Spectra server supporting minimally 6x what it supports today. So what requires historically from a footprint perspective, 6 Spectra servers within your environment, we'll be able to collapse that down to 1 with our 64-bit support. Again, that was demoed, and several of the other features were demoed at CA World, very, very well received by the Spectrum base. eHealth, so we're continuing to ensure customer success with eHealth. We continue to plan releases and have releases for eHealth, very much focused in on, and the team is right now very laser focused in on device certifications and ways in which we can improve the efficiency of turning around device certifications on eHealth and really decreasing the turnaround time for turning around those certifications to you. The most recent releases, the .05 and .06 release, we've released over 200 new and updated device certifications. We're up over 300 device certifications in the last 6 to 9 months as well. We also introduced support for RHEL 6.5 and also introduced some security updates. As I described from a futures perspective, really focused in on improving the efficiency and decreasing the turnaround time of those device certifications. We're also focused in on platform support, so we'll be updating the Windows platform support in the next release. And you'll see what we're doing is we're planning to continue quarterly releases to make sure that we're staying up to date from a technology, platform, and security standpoint for our eHealth customers as we build out Unified Infrastructure Management. Speaking of Unified Infrastructure Management, so what are we doing within this area? So what you'll see is we're very focused in on particularly improving our network performance management focus from a Unified Infrastructure Management standpoint. So anyone who is familiar with our NIMSOFT technology recognizes that it has a very strong heritage in the systems management space. And what we're doing is we're leveraging those strengths and extending that to include network performance management as well. So the 7.6 and the 8.0 releases are the two most recent releases that we've done. And in those releases, we focused in on our USM alarm console. We also updated our newly introduced HTML5 dashboards. So there's some new HTML5 dashboards providing out-of-the-box content and enabling quite a bit of flexibility for users to be able to build out their own dashboards. We're also focused in on updating our platform support, and from a reporting perspective, we did release support for top-end and at-a-glance reports across the technology silos, so enabling organizations to more quickly be able to identify issues within environments and more quickly troubleshoot issues from a performance standpoint. What you'll see the focus on from an 8.1 and beyond perspective is a lot of heavy focusing on network management. So we're building out the capabilities of the SNMP collector, enabling support across a multitude of vendors and a multitude of technologies. You'll also see quite a bit of focus in on proactive performance management. So think of this as a way from an analytics perspective where we're building in support to enable organizations to proactively identify those trouble points within their environment. Time over threshold type capabilities, being able to really truly hone in on systemic issues as opposed to just creating noise with alerts on spikes. And then being able to extend the capabilities from a flexibility standpoint and increasing grouping capabilities and reporting on grouping capabilities. And then as well, you'll see, again, always with each release updates from a probe perspective to support new technologies and updated technologies from vendors. From an NFA perspective, a Netflow Analysis perspective, again, we're very focused in on enhancing the capabilities that we have from a Netflow standpoint as we bring this together with our unified infrastructure management strategy and vision. We know there is a lot of value in looking at SNMP poll data, across flow data, across application traffic responsiveness data, really enabling you to kind of start at a high level, looking at perhaps, particularly from a network perspective, available capacity and consumption, being able to drill into what's consuming that capacity, and then being able to drill in even further, understanding how responsive the different types of application traffic are within your environment. So NFA is an important component to that. We've released the 9.2.1 release with some updated technology support. We've added in additional ABC support from a Cisco perspective and also received our IVT certification. We added in additional NetFlow support for ASA firewalls. We've also introduced some new capabilities from an admin perspective, enabling you to look at licensing and licensing consumption, and then as well remapping improvements from an administrative standpoint as well. From a futures perspective, we're focused in on very specifically MSP reporting enhancements, meeting the needs of those managed service provider environments, as well as support for database updates, database updates from the back-end database support, enhancements in site reporting, being able to report across sites, as well as focus in on integration to our unified infrastructure management platform, enabling that seamless capability to manage across the technology silos, very focused in from a network perspective across SNMP and Flow. For ADA, Application Delivery Analysis, and our Unified Communications Monitor, UCM solutions, again, recognizing the importance of the visibility of this and bringing these capabilities together in a unified fashion. For our ADA, we have an upcoming ADA 10.0 release where we're actually, to be quite honest, from a focus standpoint from an ADA, focusing in on performance and capacity. So increasing the ability to perform data collection and increase that data collection rate and reporting capability, and coupling that with longer-term data retention. And then as well, recognizing that ADA brings a tremendous amount of value to the table, but does require some upfront kind of instrumentation from an administrative standpoint. With our focusing on easy, we are introducing some updated out-of-the-box configurations for specific types of application traffics, enabling you to have more rapid time to value with the solution. From a future standpoint, we'll be performing some platform updates for MySQL and CentOS, as well as focusing in on that integration with the unified infrastructure management platform. And then as well, taking it a step further and looking at deep packet inspection capabilities on the multi-port collectors. We have the data. We want to be able to do additional deep packet inspection for select applications. From a unified communications monitor standpoint, with the upcoming 3.8, we will have enhanced link support for additional payload types coming from the link technology, and we've also improving our MediaNet support. And then from a future standpoint, recognizing the importance of Link within environments and the uptick of organizations leveraging the Microsoft Link technology, we'll be improving that data collection, which will then enable us to expand across additional payload types. And then as well, looking at the next generation UCM solution on the Unified Infrastructure Management Platform, leveraging the strengths the Unified Communications Monitor from our NetQS portfolio brings to the table, that will take kind of the best of both worlds of what NIMSOC previously brought to the table with its UCM probe, together with what we have with Unified Communications Monitor. From a Service Operations Insight perspective, so Service Operations Insight is the component in the portfolio that really truly does enable us to bring the information together and understand how well we're delivering services to our end users, knowing those services are reliant on application components and transactions in addition to infrastructure components. So we're very focused in from, over the course of the last year or so, very focused in on quality, supportability, and enhancing the user experience with SOI. So we've had several releases where that was kind of our mantra and our laser focus in on enabling users to more easily gain the value that Service Operations Insight brings to the table. So we did introduce in our 3.2 cumulative 2 update performance improvements specifically in the area of service ticketing to both our ticketing system and third-party ticketing systems, as well as performance improvement with our automated service discovery functionality. We did as well introduce an out-of-the-box connector to our Unified Infrastructure Management solution, so enabling you to pull in CI information, reconcile the CI information, and also understanding events and performance from UIM as you're modeling out your services and then reporting on how well those services are being delivered to your end users. From a future standpoint, we're focused in on, you'll see a lot of work being done on focusing in on connectors. So initially with the Spectrum connector, enhancing the integration with Spectrum, where we'll be able to take global collection definitions from Spectrum and automatically convert those and models into alert queues within SOI. A lot of work, a lot of organizations put a tremendous amount of effort into building out the definitions for the global collections and populating those global collections. We want to be able to take that work and enable you to kind of reuse that work in developing these alert queues within SOI. We're also focused in on the ability to have more flexibility in enabling alerts to not impact service status. So we call this alerts pending clear, which is really the ability to recognize and expect alerts, but you know about the alerts, they're not impacting the service, and you don't want that to reflect in the status of the service. So you'll have additional flexibility to be able to tag specific types of alerts to not impact the service status that's displayed on the dashboards. Very quickly, a couple more products to run through. So from a capacity management standpoint, again, capacity management is extremely important as we recognize the value of analytics, as I described earlier. So we want to leverage the advanced analytics for predictive, actionable insights from a capacity standpoint. So with our most recent releases, 2.5 and 2.6, we're very focused in on that user experience again, that ease of use, that theme that hopefully you're seeing across all of the products as the priority for us. We enhanced user experience. One of the things that we did was we introduced a new automated way of mapping server configurations to our component model library. This was a somewhat manual effort previously. We've automated that process, really enabling you to much more rapidly gain that value from the solution while reducing that kind of cost of ownership. We also introduced new interactive chart navigations within the UI, as well as updated our Virtual Placement Manager placement results history views. We did as well increase scale and performance, recognizing that organizations want to be able to leverage capacity management across more and more of their estate from an infrastructure standpoint, and being able to meet the needs of the increasing infrastructures. So we increased performance through partition support and optimized queries and views, so partitioning within the database and optimizing those queries and views. We're also focusing in on broader integration, so having native integration with our Unified Infrastructure Management solution, enabling us to be able to pull the data that has been collected from NIMSOC probes and be able to pull that in and be able to apply our capacity analytics and be able to model out based upon that data that's been collected. And then finally, what we also did was we updated our VMware support with our VMware, out-of-the-box VMware data adapter to leverage, as opposed to going directly to the VMware database, we're actually leveraging the APIs, the VMware-supported APIs to get that needed information. From a future standpoint, we introduced something last week at CA World where we talked about our 2.7 release and beyond. We were really focusing in on what a concept we're calling Converged capacity management, and really enabling you to be able to look at capacity across the technology silos to really truly understand overall capacity, both today, what's being used, what's available and being used, but also predictive analytics for capacity across those services you're delivering to your end users, because again, those services are reliant on the different technology silos, so being able to look at not only compute, but extending that to include network, storage, application, power, space, cooling, being able to really truly understand the full view of the services, capacity utilized, what will be required in the future. And that also includes this constraint-based analytics, really truly understanding, how overall capacity requirements, both today and future, for those business services. We're also focused in on an open data framework, so making it much easier to pull data in to be analyzed and to get the results of those analytics out much easier. From a DSIM perspective, data center infrastructure management, we're very focused in on converging infrastructure management with the data center. So this is taking what has traditionally been infrastructure management, network, system storage, and extending that to include data center resources as well across power, space, and cooling. So with our most recent releases with 4.7 and 4.8, again, focusing in on that user experience, making it very easy to gain that value from our DSIM solution. So being able to increase our user productivity through export and import views and out-of-the-box device templates, as well as enabling easier modeling of those components within the data center through a multitude of protocols specifically used within the data center. So that includes SNMP, WMI, IPMI, among several others. And then from a core feature perspective, again, you'll see this as a theme across several of the products, making sure that we're focusing in on the needs of those managed service providers, specifically as it pertains to multi-tenant capabilities, and then as well improving our patch panel support within the solution. From a future standpoint, with our DSIM 5.0 and beyond solution, again, increasing our support by converged support of our converged capacity management story with our integration on the UIM platform. So really truly being able to deliver on converged capacity management by leveraging the architecture and support we get from our unified infrastructure management architecture and platform and solution, enabling capacity analytics across the technology silos, including here with vSIM, power, space, and cooling. We're also focusing in on broader integration with our building management systems, with third-party building management systems and service management tools, as that is very high on the list from a requirement standpoint for those folks responsible for managing those data centers. We're also focusing in on enterprise scalability and the open API framework as well. So with that was quite a bit of information, I know, which went through the technology silos. I guess really what I'd like to do before we open this up for full Q&A, I'd like to basically summarize some of the questions that came from CA World, as well as specifically with that session we had with the community and the board while at CA World, to see if I can kind of answer some questions before you even ask them. So we got a lot of questions on, well, how are you delivering on the unified infrastructure management vision? What is, what's taking place? And as I described, we're very focused in initially on network performance management. So think of that as kind of eHealth-like capabilities. And hopefully you saw that demonstrated within the slide here of kind of what's new and what's coming for our unified infrastructure management slash NIMSOC platform. So network performance management is what's focused on first. At the same time, in parallel, we're starting to kind of kick up our focus in on network fault event correlation and root cause analysis. So think of that as kind of like spectrum-like capabilities. It's going to take time to get there. It's going to take a fair amount of time. Spectrum was built up over the course of many years. We anticipate Spectrum customers using Spectrum for several years to come, which is why you'll see demonstrated with, as I described earlier, for the Spectrum-like capabilities, first of all, the investment in 64-bit, because we do recognize Spectrum's going to be around for a while. You'll also hopefully recognize that we are anticipating users and customers leveraging the value that Spectrum brings to the table together with our unified infrastructure management in an integrated fashion, which is why you saw integrations with Spectrum and unified infrastructure management for physical and virtual server management. The next step will be focusing in on our service operations management, being able to truly bring more tightly together the ability to perform service operations management, service operations insight-like capabilities on the UIM platform. And then finally what we're doing is with the performance management solution, which is our CA Performance Management and CA Mediation Manager solution, the mega enterprise carrier grade solution. We'll be working towards, down the road, as we're getting all this other stuff done, kind of bolting on the capabilities that CA Performance Management brings to the table to enable that mega scale infrastructure monitoring. Again, down the road, so we're continuing to focus in on supporting CA Performance Management, but hopefully you'll understand as we're marching down the road and delivering on this vision, we'll all be kind of converging on this single platform, single architecture that's both scalable horizontally and vertically to meet the specific needs of our infrastructure management customers and the market. So with that, I would like to now, Melissa, open it up for questions.
Thank you, Kathy. That was a great presentation, and thank you to you as well, Steve Guthrie. Salima, can we please open the line for questions?
As a reminder, to ask an audio question, simply press star and then the number 1. Again, to ask a question, please press star 1. And we have no questions at this time.
So what I'd like to do is just, there's a couple questions in the Q&A panel that I'd like to just address. I do see there was one that's already been addressed for Azure. There was a question asking us if we have plans for UIM at-a-glance reports data from probes excluding SNMP collector. And it says this is redundant data on databases. So the intention is that we'll be able to have at-a-glance reports across the technology silos within UIM. So yes, the plans are to be able to have that at-a-glance reports across those technologies. And then there's another question here where it's asked that UIM views and dashboards list views is a little visually poor, and as in comparison to, in this particular question, as in comparison to Performance Center, which is expressed as having a friendly, useful views dashboard. So do we have plans to integrate UIM as a data source for PC? And so as I just described, it's actually, the plan is to kind of enable performance management to be a data source on the UIM platform. Now, with that, where all of we'll be able to have the single UI across unified infrastructure management. We are working towards building out dashboard-like capabilities as was introduced with the HTML5 dashboards, and leveraging what we have learned with building out dashboards within Performance Center to make sure that we're bringing that forward as we deliver on our unified infrastructure management vision. So think of it as bringing together the best of both worlds through and visualizing that data through a single UI, and we'll be sure, and we are very focused in on making sure that we're leveraging the strengths of the visualization that Performance Center brings to the table as we march forward.
Okay, great. And since there are no further questions, I would like to close with just a few reminders to the community. Our community update posted today to the infrastructure management community. Thank you to our board president, Michael Helder, for providing this update to the community. We appreciate that. Number two, Kathy did speak about service operations insight and capacity management. Please follow those communities if you're interested in those products. It's a great opportunity for you to get engaged there as well. And real quick, I also wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow the communities team is hosting an office hours event for our UIM product. Please go over to the IM community to learn about how you can register for that. And then last but not least, I just wanted to remind everyone to head over to the IM community and please take a product survey. We have 5 products open for survey until December 5th. These are the products that are available for survey. We want your feedback, and we really appreciate any time you could spend on that. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day for joining. Thank you to Kathy and Steve for your truly fantastic presentations. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you. This will conclude today's conference call. You may now disconnect your line.